The spoon slipped from his fingers and clattered against the marble floor, the sound echoing louder than the pain in his chest. Adrian Cole, the man whose signature could move markets and whose name dominated business headlines, collapsed alone in his penthouse kitchen, gasping as if the air itself had turned against him. At 42, the CEO of a global tech empire was dying, not from enemies or scandals, but from something far more terrifying, his own failing body and an emptiness he had ignored for years. Adrian had everything people dreamed of. Glass towers bore his company's logo, his calendar was booked months in advance, his fiancée, Clara Whitmore, was beautiful, intelligent, and admired by the elite. Yet in that moment, sprawled on the cold floor with his vision fading, none of it mattered. The doctors had warned him. Stress, exhaustion, an untreated autoimmune condition. Slow down, or your body will force you to. He had laughed then. Success did not wait. The pain surged again, sharp and relentless. His phone lay just out of reach. He wondered, vaguely, if this was how his story ended, unnoticed despite the fame. Then there was a knock at the door. It was weak at first, almost polite, as if unsure whether to disturb him. Adrian tried to shout, but only a hoarse breath escaped. The knock came again, firmer this time. With the last of his strength, he dragged himself across the floor and pulled the door open a few inches. A woman stood there holding a simple paper bag. She looked startled, then alarmed, as she took in his pale face and trembling hands. "Sir," she said softly. "I'm sorry. I think I have the wrong apartment. But are you okay?" Adrian shook his head. Words failed him. The woman didn't hesitate. She stepped inside, guiding him to a chair with surprising strength for someone so slender. "My name is Lena," she said, her voice calm, grounding. "You're having a flare, aren't you?" He stared at her, shocked. "How—" "No time," she replied. "I make soup for the building staff downstairs. It's still warm." From the paper bag she pulled out a small container. Steam curled into the air, carrying a scent so simple and comforting it felt unreal. She lifted the spoon to his lips. Adrian wanted to refuse. Pride rose even now. But his body betrayed him. He swallowed. The warmth spread through his chest like a quiet fire. His breathing slowed. The pain didn't vanish, but it loosened its grip, as if something inside him had finally been heard. They sat in silence while he finished the bowl. By the time the last spoonful was gone, tears blurred his vision. Not from pain, but from relief he didn't understand. "You should rest," Lena said, "and see a doctor tomorrow. Real rest, not the kind you pretend to take." She stood to leave as quietly as she had entered. "Wait," Adrian said, his voice steadier now. "Why did you help me?" She smiled, small and sad. "Because once, someone helped me when I had nothing." Then she was gone. The next morning, Adrian woke up in his bed, sunlight filtering through the curtains. For the first time in years, he felt present. He followed Lena's advice. He called his doctor, rescheduled meetings, canceled a board call. His assistant nearly panicked, but Adrian didn't care. Days passed, and something strange happened. His symptoms eased. Not completely, but enough that his doctors were baffled. Medication alone didn't explain it. He couldn't stop thinking about the woman with the soup. Adrian began looking for her, wandering down to the service floors, speaking to janitors, security guards, anyone who might know Lena. Finally, an elderly maintenance worker nodded. "She comes some evenings," he said. "Helps in the old community kitchen near the back entrance. She doesn't ask for pay." Adrian went there that night. The kitchen was small, worn, alive with quiet warmth. Lena stood over a pot, stirring slowly. She looked up and froze when she saw him. "You're better," she said. "Because of you," Adrian replied. "I owe you my life." She shook her head. "You saved yourself by listening." Over time, Adrian kept returning. At first, to thank her, then to talk. Lena listened more than she spoke, But when she did, her words carried a depth that startled him. She spoke of food as care, of healing as patience, of how the body responded when the heart felt safe. Against his own expectations, Adrian found himself opening up. He talked about the pressure, the loneliness at the top, the constant need to prove himself. Lena never judged him. What Adrian didn't know was that Lena had her own past, heavy and complicated. Years earlier, she had studied holistic medicine before life collapsed around her. Her parents died within months of each other. She lost her home, her savings, her faith in systems that promised security. Cooking, especially soup, had become her way of surviving, of grounding herself and others. Weeks turned into months. Adrian's health continued to improve, not miraculously, but steadily. He worked fewer hours, delegated more, and found unexpected peace in evenings spent in that small kitchen. Then Clara returned from an extended overseas trip. She noticed the change immediately. Adrian was calmer, thinner, quieter, less controllable. "You've been distant," Clara said one night over a perfectly plated dinner, "and the board is concerned." "I'm alive," Adrian replied, "for the first time in a long while." Clara smiled tightly. She was used to being admired, to being essential. She did not like competition, especially not from invisible sources. It was only a matter of time before she followed him. One evening, Clara arrived at the community kitchen unannounced. Lena was ladling soup into containers when she looked up and met Clara's eyes. The recognition was instant and devastating. Lena's hands began to shake. Clara's face drained of color. "You," Clara whispered. Adrian turned confused. "You know each other?" Clara laughed, sharp and humorless. "Know her? She's the miracle healer the press loved to talk about years ago. The woman whose method saved my sister's life." Lena swallowed. "I never wanted fame," she said quietly. "I only wanted to help." "You disappeared," Clara snapped, "after taking all the credit." "That's not true," Lena replied, pain flashing across her face. "I left because the attention destroyed everything." Adrian felt the ground shift beneath him. Clara turned to him. "She's dangerous, unregulated, emotional. You can't trust someone like this." Lena stepped back. "I never meant to come between you." The truth came out in fragments that night. Lena had once been offered partnerships, funding, recognition. She walked away when her work became commercialized, when healing turned into branding. Clara, ambitious even then, had chosen the opposite path, leveraging connections and prestige. Adrian saw it clearly now. One woman sought control, the other sought care. The conflict tore through him. Clara represented the life he had built, the image, the certainty. Lena represented something fragile and real. The challenge came swiftly. Adrian suffered another flare, worse than the first. This time, he was hospitalized. The board panicked. Stocks dipped. Clara stayed by his side, speaking to doctors, managing appearances. But it was Lena's soup that he asked for. Clara's patience snapped. "You're choosing superstition over science," she said. "Over me." Adrian met her gaze, exhausted but clear. "I'm choosing life." He ended the engagement from that hospital bed, knowing the cost would be immense. Lawsuits, headlines, backlash. But for the first time, he did not measure his decisions by fear. Recovery was slow, painful. Adrian faced withdrawal from constant work, the uncertainty of a changing identity. Lena faced her own challenge, stepping back into a world that once hurt her. They supported each other without promises. Some days were quiet, some days were hard, but they were honest. Months later, Adrian stood in a modest building he had funded quietly. A community wellness center. No branding, no press, just care. Lena ran the kitchen and taught others how to cook with intention. Adrian volunteered anonymously, learning how to listen instead of lead. On opening day, a reporter asked Adrian what saved his life. He smiled. "One bowl of soup," he said, "and the courage to finally slow down." That evening, as the sun dipped low, Adrian and Lena sat together, sharing a simple meal. "You know," Adrian said softly, "I used to think success was about being untouchable." Lena looked at him. "And now?" "Now I know it's about being human." She reached for his hand, and for the first time, the future didn't feel like a race. It felt like healing. The message lingered long after their story spread quietly from person to person. That sometimes the greatest miracles are not loud or profitable. Sometimes they arrive in silence, carried in a warm bowl, reminding us that care can save what ambition nearly destroys. The world did not pause just because Adrian Cole chose to heal. The morning after the Community Wellness Center opened, headlines exploded across screens. Investors questioned his judgment. Analysts debated whether the once ruthless CEO had gone soft. Former allies whispered that he was being influenced, manipulated, changed beyond recognition. Adrian read none of it. For the first time in his life, he let the noise exist without letting it inside him. Still, the consequences arrived quietly and then all at once. A key investor pulled out. A senior executive resigned. The board demanded an emergency meeting. Adrian walked into the glass conference room with calm steps, but his chest tightened. Old instincts rose, urging him to dominate, to explain, to control. He glanced at the city skyline beyond the windows and reminded himself why he had chosen this path. "You're risking everything," one board member said bluntly. "Your health is improving, yes, but your company is bleeding confidence." Adrian folded his hands. "The company was bleeding me long before this." Silence followed. Not angry silence, uncomfortable silence. "You built this empire by pushing past limits," another voice said. "Now you're stepping back when we need you most." Adrian exhaled slowly. "I pushed past my humanity. I won't do that again." The meeting ended without resolution. Adrian knew what it meant. He would have to give something up. That night, he walked to the community center alone. The building was quiet, except for the soft hum of the kitchen lights. Lena stood at the counter, chopping vegetables, her movements steady and familiar. "You're late," she said, without looking up. "Long day," Adrian replied. She glanced at his face and instantly knew. "They're pressuring you." "Yes." She set the knife down. "You don't have to do this for me." "I'm not," he said honestly. "I'm doing it for the version of me that almost died on a kitchen floor." Lena nodded, but worry lingered in her eyes. She had seen this pattern before. Systems rarely forgave those who stepped out of line. Over the next weeks, Adrian faced his hardest challenge yet: letting go. He stepped down as CEO. The announcement shook the industry. Some called it noble, others called it foolish. His net worth dipped overnight. Invitations vanished. Friends who once rushed to answer his calls suddenly became busy. The silence hurt more than he expected. Without the constant demands of leadership, Adrian struggled with his identity. He woke early, restless, unsure where to direct his energy. Healing, he learned, was not just about rest. It was about facing the emptiness left behind. Lena noticed the change. "You don't need to be useful every minute," she told him one evening as they cleaned the kitchen together. "I don't know how not to be," he admitted. She paused, then handed him a bowl. "Then start small, be useful here." So he did. Adrian learned how to wash dishes without rushing, how to chop onions without checking the time, how to listen to strangers' stories without trying to fix them. Some days the simplicity frustrated him. Other days it grounded him. Meanwhile, Lena faced her own storm. Word spread quietly about her presence at the center. Former colleagues reached out. An offer came from a wellness corporation, promising funding, visibility, influence. It could help so many people, Adrian said carefully when she told him. Lena stared at the offer letter for a long time. It could also destroy what this place is. She remembered the past too well, the way healing became performance, the way compassion turned into metrics. Her challenge was fear. Fear of repeating old wounds. Fear of choosing safety over purpose. One evening, a young man collapsed outside the center, weak and shaking. Lena and Adrian rushed to help. As Lena worked, calm and focused, Adrian saw again what had saved him. Not magic. Presence. The man survived. Later, his sister hugged Lena, crying. "You gave him time," she said. "Time we didn't have." That night, Lena made her decision. She declined the corporate offer, but proposed something different. A network of small, independent kitchens, shared knowledge, no ownership, no spotlight. Adrian listened, proud and humbled. "You're building something stronger than an empire," he said. "And you?" Lena asked. "What will you build now?" Adrian didn't answer immediately. He looked around the kitchen, at the worn counters, the warmth, the quiet dignity of service. "I think," he said slowly, "I'll help others step back before their bodies force them to." Months later, the network grew. Not fast, not flashy, but real. Adrian used his experience quietly, advising without controlling. Lena taught without claiming credit. They faced setbacks. A location failed. Funding ran low. Doubt crept in during sleepless nights. But they faced each challenge together, honestly, without hiding behind titles or fear. One evening, as rain tapped against the windows, Adrian realized something profound. He was no longer afraid of losing, because he had already found what mattered. And this time, no headline could take it away.